The outpouring of emotion from across this country has been overwhelming.
Our hearts go out to the victims and their families.
We are all in this together.
Our spirit is strong.
A somber day here in Charleston.
There is an outpouring of support from across the country.
This is the type of thing that tears through the fabric of a community.
They weren't only my church members, they were a family.
Mother Emanuel Church and its congregation have risen before. It will rise again now.
Brendan, give us an idea of what you found out. We know that this started at about 9 o'clock tonight. There was a meeting inside Emanuel AME Church, and we understand that a shooter went inside that church.
Yeah, it was a possible Bible study, as I'm told, Carolyn, and this is certainly a very fluid situation right now that we are working, because this shooter, the person who allegedly did this inside the Emanuel AME Church, is on the loose right now. Just minutes ago, police gave us a description. It was a white male in his 20s wearing Timberland boots, jeans, and a t-shirt. They say he came into that church and started firing, and he is on the loose. Certainly a very fluid situation right now. Breaking news, as you can see, police have this area on lockdown. No one's going anywhere. This is as far as we're going. We have seen several pastors. We've seen Wendell Gilliard. We've seen several men go in there talking with police right now to Emanuel AME Church. Don't know what was said, but we do know it is not good news. We have our team coverage. We're continuing it with News 2's Matt Elba. He's been down here working this since about 9 o'clock tonight. That's when the shooting happened. Matt, you have more. You've been able to talk to several people. What have they told you?
Well, Brendan, when I got here, we got here a little after 10 o'clock. Right when we got here, we were a little bit closer to the scene. Police pushed the scene back to right where we're standing right now in front of the Shell station on Meeting and Calhoun Street. Right after they pushed us back, I went across the street to the Marriott Courtyard. This is, again, right on Calhoun and Meeting Street. We went across the street to the Marriott Courtyard. I spoke with a man. I asked him if his family member was injured. He told me yes. I also saw an African-American woman who appeared to be in her 50s. She was crying and screaming as she went into the Courtyard Marriott. This is about an hour ago.
When he stepped to the podium, again, we're hoping to get some new information, possibly an updated description rather, of this suspect. A white male in his 20s wearing a gray sweatshirt or long sleeve t-shirt and Timberland boots. He had a sandy blonde hair or light brown hair, and that is the best that they have been able to give us. Octavia, it is I don't know how to describe it. It is a very quiet morning, quieter than normal as the city tries to come alive here and get the workday going. But it's a tough thing to wake up to. And unfortunately, on this date, we've woken up to similar news before with 9 firefighters being killed on this date 8 years ago. And today, we're mourning the loss of 9 people inside of a church who just went there to pray when that gunman walked in. Tafe?
Thank you, Brad.
This is an unfathomable and unspeakable act. This community is going to provide the best example of a community coming together to help those grieving because of an unbelievable event.
Both the young and old, local community members and folks across the country, they stretch the length of the bridge to show the world that Charleston is strong.
Solidarity. Strength. That no matter what, it can't be broken.
We are Charleston!
History is being made.
We've gathered and we're going to do a unity chain.
To just join hands together and just show the nation and the world that we are unified.
Many of us knew people from the church and that we're in this all together.
Because all of us have to be here.
The Ravenel Bridge means a lot to us, and that means that we're divided, Mount Pleasant and all the other, but when you come across the bridges, everybody is united as one.
We here in the South strive to go against all the stereotypes of what a lot of people in the nation tend to put us in, and that's one reason why I'm out here today. We're not typical people here. We are God-fearing, God-loving people.
Love conquers all.
It will go down in history. Generations will remember this day.
Now, this was the first time that the Ravenel Bridge held an event like this on Facebook. Now, it said 8,000 people were said to be participating, but you ask anyone who was there and they said it was well north of that.
I want to go back inside the TD Arena where the services will begin in about 50 minutes, just shy of an hour. News 2's Carolyn Murray is anchoring our coverage from inside. Carolyn?
Yeah, Brad, Octavia, thank you. Certainly, it's an opportunity to speak with people who had personal relationships with State Senator Reverend Clemente Pinckney.
Cynthia Graham Hurd passed away in the shooting. Also, Daniel Simmons Sr. Passed away in the shooting, was 74 years old. There was a ministerial staff member of the Emmanuel AME Church, regular attendee of the Wednesday Bible study. Obviously, he passed away during Bible study. Tawanza Sanders, again, there's Cynthia Graham Hurd, entered into eternal rest. Now we're up to Daniel Simmons, now Tawanza Sanders, and certainly we want to remember all of those, and we have been. Today, obviously, is a day set aside for Clemente Pinckney as he is laid to rest officially. Tawanza Sanders, 26 years old, graduated last year from Allen University. Very moving yesterday as the choir, the men of Allen, were coming down the streets of Calhoun singing, and I think everybody was really moved by that his university, his fellow brothers there from Allen came to pay their respects. We also remember Susie Jackson. Susie, the oldest, 87 years old, a longtime church member, sang in the choir. She and Ethel Lance were cousins, so we are talking about family members losing family members in this terrible tragedy. Also, we remember Reverend DePayne Middleton Doctor from Hollywood, South Carolina, entered into eternal rest on Wednesday, June 17th, a day that we will all remember. Reverend Doctor, mother of Grayson, Kaylin, Haley, and Sana Doctor, and the beloved daughter of Reverend Leroy and Francis Middleton. And again, just one of those that we will always remember. Mrs. Myra Thompson was 59 of Charleston, also in the shooting, passed away. Myra leaves to mourn a loving, devoted, and cherished husband, the Reverend Anthony Thompson, one son and one daughter, whom she cherished, Kevin Singleton and Denise Quarles, and many, many, many other family members who are continuing to pay their respects. Ethel Lance, Ethel was laid to rest yesterday officially in a funeral, and also Sharonda Coleman Singleton, also laid to rest yesterday in a funeral, was a part-time minister at Emmanuel AME and also a speech pathologist at Goose Creek High School. So the high school family, Goose Creek, certainly mourning her as well.
All right, Rob, yeah, all beloved members of the community, many just still, you know, in shock, grieving how this could have happened last Wednesday night.
It takes love to drive out hate. And I really believe that the hate that took place on the first level of this church has been driven out by the love demonstrated by these 9 families, this community, this state. People are seeing South Carolina like they've never seen it before.
Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me.
When Hurricane Joaquin was off our coast and heavy rains hit the Lowcountry.
This is going to near peak intensity here over the next 12 to 24 hours.
Storm Team 2's breaking weather alert kept you informed.
The rain chances will continue to be elevated.
With live reports from the field.
They're going to be dropping down their monitoring levels to OPCON 4.
Updates on road conditions with drive time traffic.
Rain is falling, the tide is high, and is causing trouble for drivers.
Before, during, and after the storm. Count on Storm Team 2.
Right now, I need some help.
On Saturday morning, Kathy Jefferson says the soaking wet scene outside her home on Sproul Avenue was something she's never seen before.
When I got up, the car was covered, the flowers were floating in the yard, and I was like, oh my goodness, I can't get out. Help!
Kathy says she called her daughter, Jermel, who immediately came to her mother's aid.
I immediately got in my car and drove over here. When I got here, she was standing on the porch at first, and then all of a sudden she was in the yard.
Kathy says she then jumped into the deep water outside her home, the water up over her waist.
I mean, it was up to her chest. It was up to her chest. It wasn't past the car yet, but it was just horrible.
Kathy's home and some of the surrounding properties absolutely pounded with rain.
My house is totally full of water. The floors are all damaged. The furniture is all wet. You know, everything is gone.
With countless cars submerged all around them, residents in this North Charleston neighborhood say it's something out of a nightmare.
They're pretty much flooded out. Some have evacuated, as you can see, some are still in.
Michael Nesbitt is an actor who lives in Los Angeles but grew up in Charleston. He also could not believe his eyes.
I've just never seen anything like this here before. I mean, we could use the rain in LA instead of you guys getting it like this, man. It's just a lot of water.
And with cars and trucks cruising around the block streets and barricades, some families say this is now causing even more damage to their homes.
You know, she was telling them, no, don't come. And they were just coming and the water was just moving like it was like a wave, like just pushing us out the way.
There have been 3 sources of moisture. We've gotten moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico, and a dip in the jet stream has been picking that up. At the same time, there have been easterly winds in the Atlantic with an area of high pressure near Bermuda. That's been pushing some moisture our way. And we've also had Hurricane Joaquin offshore. We've been pulling some moisture out of that.
Flooding continues to be a problem, especially near Trolley Road.
Yeah, News 2's Annie Taylor is making the rounds throughout Dorchester County, Somerville specifically. Annie, you still in the same spot? And if so, where are you? If not, where are you? Tell people what's up.
Yes. Yes, we are still in the same spot, Bacon's Bridge Road, and we are on Holly Street. It's pretty bad here. We have a gentleman behind us. He is just wading through the waters right now. We're hoping to talk to him. I just noticed that he came all the way through the waters, and this was pretty much up to all the mailboxes here. Hey, sir, do you live in Arbor Oaks Road?
You know, I didn't even plan this.
What are you doing out here? What are you doing?
I'm just checking on my neighbors.
You're just checking on your neighbors?
It's bad.
Yeah, tell us what's it like back there?
It's chest deep.
Chest deep in
Yeah.
people's homes out there?
Oh yeah, everything on the left side is flooded completely, 2 feet of water at least. You go where those trucks are parked right there, take a left into my neighborhood. I'm high and dry. I live up above all this, but there's probably, I would say, 20 houses back there that are flooded bad. Some of them didn't even have flood insurance.
But I want to show you some of the rainfall totals estimated by our Storm Team 2 Doppler radar, and you can kind of pick out an area. Most of the time you're looking at least 5 inches, 6, 7, close to 8 inches over the last 24 hours.
An incredibly dramatic scene unfolded during News 2 5 o'clock on Monday as a pastor from a church in Somerville walked into the flooded waters surrounding the Ridgeville Cemetery and pushed an unearthed vault and casket back to the side of the road. Pastor Wayne Reeves, who you see right there from Somerville, walked through that flooded area where many say they saw snakes and alligators to bring that casket to dry land.
Why are you going in to get them? Somebody's family out there. That's family suffering. Here's their family out there popped up out of the ground. I think it's the human thing to do. This family don't want to sit out here on the edge of this road all night long watching their family members bob in the water out there. That's just not who we are. But if that was my mom or my dad, I'd walk through hell and high water. And now, today it happens to be high water.
Dorchester County Sheriff's deputies retrieved a second casket from that flood water. The cemetery at Canyon United Methodist Church actually started flooding when the rains started last week. Authorities from Dorchester County say they are going to assess all the flood damage once the waters recede.
The National Weather Service in Charleston has just issued a rare coastal flood watch 24 hours in advance of tomorrow's high tide, because we're looking at a tide tomorrow at noon that could be higher than what we saw with the peak of the full moon and supermoon tides earlier this week.
Which was more than 8.5 feet or something.
It was close to it. Yeah. And we're looking at heavy rain falling at that time.
Flooding in many areas is now subsiding. A number of people in Georgetown County are still in danger. News 2's Raymond Owens was in the Browns Ferry community outside Georgetown surveying the damage.
Well, I was amazed how the water come up within a day.
Michael Flagler spent time on his boat Saturday afternoon inspecting flooded out homes.
I just came yesterday. The water height was 2 inches from the bottom of the floor.
It's now covering the floor of his own home.
Oh, it's horrible. Two in the car yard, 2 cars in the yard covered with water.
And it's moving higher.
So I was checking and trying to get much stuff out of my house as much as possible.
The National Guard is using this vehicle to transport people into and out of the Browns Ferry community because it's really the only way in or out.
It means the world to me that I can take my truck through there and get them to where they need to be, get them what they need, and it just puts a smile on my face knowing that they're happy.
They're doing more than just offering transportation. Now notice that gentleman back there asked for a cigarette and you gave him the rest of your pack.
Yeah, I did. It seems like he was grateful for it.
Giving the people who live here a reason to smile in a situation that seems helpless at times.
Devastated, horrible, and no place to live right now, and just finding a place, try to stay and keep my family together.
We are continuing to see the heaviest rain move into parts of Georgetown and Williamsburg County. If you are watching us from those areas right now, be alert that this is a very dangerous situation.
We have team coverage with our reporters across the Lowcountry and South Carolina from Columbia to Dorchester County, but we begin right now in Georgetown County. As people there didn't have enough to worry about, new flood warnings tonight along the Black River. News 2's Ashley Yo spent the day with people whose homes are completely underwater.
We are currently on the Black River, a river that on a normal day flows leisurely down to the South Carolina coast, but today is not a typical day. The Black River has overflowed its banks and flooded homes like this one behind me. As you can see, this is the second story of a home. The water has risen all the way to the top. We talked to Joey Smith, whose family lives in this home, and he says the water started on Monday and hasn't stopped since. He says that he and his family are just taking it one day at a time.
Monday morning, 5:30, 6 o'clock, my dad called me and said, come get a boat and come get your mom out of the house. I feel like I've lived all week just in a dream.
Yeah, how about y'all?
The neighbors are what has been amazing. Tuesday morning, I had 3 boats at my back door with everybody piling stuff together. Everybody's got different people's stuff in garages and houses, and I mean, this little street is just joined together and been amazing. The support we've got from everybody. You never realize what nature and God can do until you can see something like this.
Houses like this one have water completely up to the roof. This house is almost entirely submerged in water, and the water is not done yet. It's projected to rise even higher than it is now. And this is an emotional time for the people who live in this neighborhood. When we asked what we could do for them, they said you can pray.
This is an incident we've never had before.
A white North Charleston police officer shooting and killing a black man who was running away.
Shots fired. Subject is down. As the result of that video and the bad decision made by our officer, he will be charged with murder.
It all started when Walter Scott was pulled over for a busted taillight around 9 Saturday morning. It ended minutes later in a field near Craig Street and Remount Road. The video of what happened, shot by a witness and provided by Scott's family, runs over 4 minutes. At 21 seconds in, you see Scott run from Officer Slager, and Slager is seen pulling his weapon and firing 8 times. Then Scott crumples to the ground. Slager is then heard telling Scott to stay on the ground as he placed handcuffs on him. He radios to dispatch as he walks back to where Scott first broke free. At 45 seconds in, Slager mentions the taser he claims Scott was going for.
223, shots fired. Subject is down. You grabbed my taser.
Radio traffic begins to pick up and sirens are heard, and other officers respond to the scene. At 1:26 into the video, more radio calls from Slager where he answers a call about his condition as well as Scott's.
223, are you 10-4? Everyone 10-4, so for the suspect. These will come behind the squad shot with a kit. Gunshot wounds, looks like the chest,
to the right side. All responses.
Then at 1:39, the video is slowed down to show the officer dropping something near Walter Scott's body. The minutes continue as crews work on Walter Scott, who would soon be pronounced dead. Meanwhile, the FBI has opened an investigation along with state police who were called in the day of that shooting. The Department of Justice says they will take appropriate action in light of the evidence and these developments in this case.
It was emotional, with bright lights in their face just hours after they saw the videotape of a North Charleston police officer allegedly murdering their family member. They stood strong in the wake of a tragedy.
All we wanted was the truth. And I think through the process, we've received the truth.
Here in South Carolina, the Confederate flag is taken off State House grounds to a mostly cheering crowd. We have team coverage tonight. Raymond Owens, Macy McLeod, and Annie Taylor have all been gathering reaction for us today, but we begin with News 2's Travis Rice. He was in Columbia all week covering this story and watched as that flag came down.
Hey, good evening, guys. A day many thought would never happen here in South Carolina actually occurring today. The Confederate flag displayed on the State House, taken down before thousands.
History coming down. Thousands cheering as the Confederate flag descended from State House grounds.
My heart is beating fast, and it feels like the end of a journey. To be able to be a witness to this today has just been a blessing.
A moment shared across generations.
It was just wonderful. I am so proud to be here. I wish my parents were here. If they were here, they would have been 91 this year, and they would have been so proud. Thank God. Amen.
I'm just glad to be alive to see it come down.
Former State Senator Theo Mitchell never thought he'd live to see the day.
Well, I'll be frank with you. After 1994, when I no longer was in politics, the flag was a passing symbol.
A passing symbol struck down by the people.
Everybody in South Carolina can be proud of this.
Mayor Riley seeing the flag lowered and seeing what it means for the future of the Palmetto State.
I mean, 52 years ago, no school in South Carolina was racially integrated. And so we see where we've come. We see how much more we have to do. This flag, I think, is kind of an obstacle gotten out of the way. We can work more and harder.
Again, that polarizing fixture and its flagpole both removed here from the state capitol. In Columbia, Travis Rice, News 2.
And tonight, that flag is in the Confederate Relic Room and Military Museum, which isn't too far away from the State House, less than a mile. The museum's education curator said the banner was placed in a storage area and will be kept there until the details on how it will be displayed are worked out. And we also are downtown at Emmanuel AME Church today to see how people visiting that church felt about the flag being taken down. News 2's Macy McLeod joins us live with more from Mother Emanuel. Macy?
Brendan, one of the visitors here at Mother Emanuel told me today she believes Martin Luther King Jr. is celebrating in heaven. She says not only because of the Confederate flag being removed from State House grounds, but also the love South Carolinians are showing after such a tragedy. Visitors to the memorial today told me the murders of the Emanuel 9 are starting conversations about race in South Carolina. And those conversations about acceptance and inclusion are helping the state take steps forward.
It's just showing that South Carolina is bigger than what everyone thinks it is, and we are more racially together than divided. And that's all I wanted to show. That South Carolina has love on both sides.
I have family history of people that fought in the Confederate Army, but the Confederate flag has come to mean hate, and it's time for it to come down.
It's been more than 3 weeks since the shooting here at Emmanuel AME, and there's still a steady stream of people coming by. They tell me it's important for them to come and pay their respects on such a historic day.
We're going to get right out to Storm Team 2 meteorologist Josh Marthers because he is on the ground getting his eyes on this. Josh, you've seen storm damage before. The meteorologist in you saying this was indeed a tornado?
I would say, yeah. What we saw earlier down the road where we were a little bit, I was a little more unclear. It had some characteristics also because of the widespread size of this damage that we're seeing. There's so much of it. I'm going, okay, this could be more straight line wind, but we've started to come down Fenwick Hills Road, and you start to see things that are a little more characteristic of tornado damage. Now, you're not going to be able to see this right now until the sun comes up, but thanks to the good folks at Berkeley County Electric and some of their spotlights, I was able to kind of see down the road that we can't get to right now, or we can't get through this. And the trees are essentially just scalped at the top. They're snapped in half, and you can look and see the characteristics of the tree line where there is a clear damage path, is what it appears to be, at least here from the ground and based off of the spotlights that we used. And what I've been told by Berkeley County Electric is that where we are, which is the worst damage that I've seen this morning, is nothing compared to what it's like on parts of River Road where we can't get to right now because there's so much damage. You're hearing the chainsaws, you're hearing the dogs barking, you're hearing the trucks from the power companies out here. And the thing, though, that I'll tell you that stands out to me about this morning more than anything that I've seen so far or experienced so far is the smell. As you were coming onto Johns Island this morning, I had the window down, and with tornado damage, as many of us in the weather community know, you go from no damage at all to all of a sudden you're in the middle of it. And I didn't want to get caught off guard by it, so the high beams were on. But I said, you know what, I'm going to roll down the window because if there's a lot of tree damage, you're going to be able to smell it. And then all of a sudden there was this overwhelming smell of pine and oak and hardwood. And then I would say within about 30 seconds, you started seeing the damage. And as you come onto Johns Island and get deeper and deeper into Johns Island, it gets worse. So, you know, and it's unfortunate because the past 3 weeks, it seems like Johns Island has been the centerpiece of all of this weather mess, so to speak. We had the massive flooding a few weeks ago, and now we're looking at tornado damage from one rogue storm.
Josh was talking about how you just get sometimes one rogue storm. And, you know, we saw a complex of storms that started to move onshore around the same time of this tornado, but only one storm produced what we are seeing out there this morning. So you really just always have to be prepared, always have to have the weather radio like Josh mentioned. This is actually right in the area where Josh is right now. This is near Fenwick Crossroads. Just before 1 o'clock, this is around 12:45 in the morning. This is what we're seeing here, wind blowing in a counterclockwise fashion. That's what the green and red up against each other mean here. And that's the signature. This is a very strong signature for a tornado.
An autumn breeze blows through Johns Island, but bent street signs and broken trees are among evidence of a stronger wind.
I have metal wrapped around trees back here. I have other people's furniture in my yard.
Cynthia Winkler, home with her husband when the tornado touched down.
Getting ready to watch the weather and the satellite went out. And then within seconds, it was here. It was on us.
On her house.
Peeled out like a can opener.
Her roof ripped away right before her eyes.
And I was right here in the floor. That's where I was, right there. And my husband was right here. And I couldn't see him.
Rainwater inundating her living room. A day later, the smell of mildew overwhelming.
It's just not my home anymore.
The same can be said about Cynthia's backyard.
There's my roof. All this insulation that you see goes far way back in those trees. That's all from my home. Everybody thought it was chicken feathers. Like, no.
How'd you guys survive?
I don't know, it was instinct. It was just our adrenaline kicked in, our survival mode kicked in.
A tornado survivor now tasked with rebuilding.
This is my land, this is my home, I'm not going anywhere. We're just gonna have to stick it out and do the best we can.
All the while, looking out for the little things.
Rubble, and then I have 3 eggs sitting right here and debris all around it.
Nature's delicate touch.
Back here on Johns Island, there are plenty of reminders of Friday morning's tornado. As for Cynthia, she says her neighbors are rallying around her and helping her with her destroyed home. In Johns Island, Travis Rice, News 2.
Charleston's mayor for nearly 40 years will soon leave office. And while we believe we know everything about Charleston Mayor Joe Riley, I sat down with his 3 sisters who reveal a side of the mayor we've never seen before.
We heard a really funny story that you guys shared about something about a pony in downtown Charleston. Was that lawful at the time? You could have a pony?
Well, of course it was awful. Her name was Queenie, and she lived in the backyard. Do you remember Queenie, Jane? You were too young. You remember Queenie?
I vaguely remember Queenie.
But Joe and I would get on the pony and kind of ride her all around. You know, it was not unusual.
You know whatever happened to Queenie?
Went to live with Mr. Wagner, and he's the one that our dad helped bring the carriages here. I think they went on a vacation to St. Augustine, and he saw the carriages, and he thought that would be a wonderful asset for Charleston.
So now we understand how carriage tours came about as a result of Queenie.
That's right.
It was their father, Joseph P. Riley Sr.'s idea to bring the gentle sway of carriage horses to the peninsula of Charleston. But it was their brother's passion for people and progress.
Joe is truly a public servant, and he's always trying to do more for this city that he dearly loves and for the people that live in this city.
That would keep Charleston ranked among the best cities in the world. They are Mayor Riley's three sisters, Jane the youngest, Mary the middle sister, and Suzanne the oldest.
He's always had this wonderful long vision, and he instinctively knows what is right. You know, he's got this moral compass that is just a real gift.
They watched their brothers rise through the political ranks, first as a member of the South Carolina State House, and then as Charleston's mayor. Has he ever called any of you for advice?
He's never called us for advice, but that's not to say that we don't sit around the table all having supper together and have some very spirited discussions. He has professionals to give him advice, but if one of us is sick, there's a problem with one of our families, he is on that phone almost daily, reaching out to us, how you doing, can I be of help?
What do you think your brother might describe as something that he still really wants to accomplish before he leaves office?
One thing? Well, the African American Museum.
He keeps in his pocket index cards of everything that he has for the day, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whatever. But he has, I'm sure that's on every card that has some mention of that.
And the projects have grown with him as he has gone through these 40 years. You know, I remember Waterfront Park. He had all these little squares of different pebbles that he was looking at to pick through and see which kind of pebble he thought should be on the ground in Waterfront Park.
Are you concerned about what will happen to this wonderful city when your brother is not at City Hall every day?
I know that when he leaves, he will leave it in good hands.
40 years. That's how long Charleston Mayor Joe Riley has been in office. The city, boy, it looks a lot different now, doesn't it? So we thought we'd take a look back at the year Riley's run began, 1975. The year was 1975. The Vietnam War ended with the fall of Saigon. Microsoft, founded by Bill Gates and Paul Allen.
NBC Saturday Night.
It was also the year Saturday Night Live premiered right here on NBC. Comedian George Carlin hosted that first show. Jaws took a bite out of the box office.
You're going to need a bigger boat.
And scared a generation out of the water.
Send in the clouds.
Judy Collins topped the charts with Song of the Year, Send in the Clowns. Our daily lives look different too, especially the things we bought. A gallon of gas.
Probably 60 cents a gallon, maybe.
57 cents, and the average price of a new car?
Probably $5,000.
$3,800, an average price of a new home.
I sold one in '75 for $56,000.
$39,000, and the U.S. minimum wage.
I never earned minimum wage. Do you remember, Ralph, minimum wage in '75?
Just over $2 an hour. A lot certainly has changed since 1975, but one thing that never changed, Joe Riley's love for Charleston, the city he was chosen to lead for 40 years. Tonight we have new details into the SLED investigation over how a Hanahan police officer handled the Wayne DeWitt case. Our Rebecca Collette dug through pages of the SLED investigation, and tonight Rebecca has some insight into why the solicitor called on SLED to investigate a specific officer and how he handled the chase the night DeWitt was arrested for DUI. Rebecca.
Brendan, essentially the report written by Officer Justice Jenkins just doesn't match the dash cam video from the night DeWitt was arrested. This is the 50+ page investigation, and this is the dash cam video from that night. I combed through all of it. Here's what I found.
In his own words, once the chase through Hanahan was over.
Where did you light him up at? It's in between Hannaford and Gaming Hall, right in that whole straightaway right there.
But in a follow-up report, Officer Justice Jenkins says he didn't write former Sheriff Wayne DeWitt a ticket because he wasn't sure if his lights were working, or if the possibly drunk driver inside the truck would even know he was being chased. This is just one of the discrepancies leading Solicitor Scarlett Wilson to request a SLED investigation into Officer Jenkins' handling of the situation. In a handwritten statement to his department, Officer Jenkins says he never thought DeWitt was trying to outrun him, despite speeding more than 100 miles per hour. In follow-up interviews with his superiors at the Hanahan Police Department, they told SLED that's a total change of story, saying they could tell from the officer's voice and actions this was definitely a chase. And even though Officer Jenkins was first on the scene, he was soon dismissed from it.
Just see if they need you to head back to that.
What I found? Officer Jenkins worked for DeWitt until 2014. Jenkins was in a wreck and offered the opportunity to resign instead of being fired. He was with the Hanahan Police Department for a month and a half before the DeWitt incident. During the 34-minute video, it's clear many of the officers just didn't want to be involved with this case.
I recognize his face, and then as soon as I grab, oh no.
What I also discovered in the dash cam video and the audio that I combed through today, officers on scene reported finding an open container that spilled all over DeWitt's truck. And as you may recall, DeWitt blew through a red light and couldn't stay in his own lane. Now, he's not facing any of those charges. Attorney David Ayler tells me charges are left up to the discretion of the officers on scene, and perhaps they believe the current charges encompass the rest. Scarlett Wilson says Officer Jenkins didn't commit a criminal offense, and tonight he's still employed as a patrol officer in Hanahan.
The cost of health care takes a big chunk out of everyone's paycheck, but what if we told you you may be paying even more because of bogus charges and mistakes?
Not good. News 2 investigator Rebecca Collette digs through mounds of paperwork to show you just how often it happens. Rebecca?
Good evening, guys. Some estimate errors on medical bills happen 4 out of 5 bills. And one patient advocate says many people just pay the bills without really knowing what they're actually paying for.
Riddick Walling was injured on the job. Now he lives with chronic pain and the added pain of medical bills.
Stress on top of pain is going to make your pain worse.
He has stacks of medical bills to manage, many with errors.
It's very overwhelming.
But he's not alone in the fight to correct his bill. I found complaint after complaint with the Department of Consumer Affairs against several area hospitals and doctors' offices across the state. Like this one, where the patient discovered their bill was never submitted to insurance. Another billed for services that were already paid. And then there are overpayments, excessive charges, and the list goes on. I found the most common errors include duplicate charges for the same service, wrong insurance or patient information, bills for canceled treatments, incorrect quantities of medications, and balanced billing. I also found insurance companies paid the wrong amount for nearly 1 in 10 medical claims. The American Medical Association estimates an additional $7 billion could be saved if insurers consistently paid claims correctly. Patient advocate Pat Palmer says the problem is actually much worse. Palmer estimates 80% of bills contain errors.
The error rate has escalated tremendously over the years, and especially in the last 2 or 3 years.
She says catching the errors starts with you.
Bills that you receive from facilities are more or less a summary bill. Everyone that is paying on these bills have no clue exactly what they're being charged for and whether they're true and accurate.
So before you pay, request an itemized bill from your doctor. It will list every service or medication. Then you can truly begin analyzing the bill. While parts of the bill may be confusing, you can easily determine if you've been charged for the wrong medication or quantities of it. Also, look for errors with services or lab work you didn't receive. If you still have questions about the name of a service, try calling the nurses station for an explanation.
So go throughout the different departments in a hospital and question, and you're entitled to layman terms of what those items are.
For Walling, there's no question what these items are. They're bogus bills. He'll have to fight.
Another way to determine if you're being wrongly billed is compare your itemized bill with your explanation of benefits that you get from your insurance company. Then you can see side by side what you're paying for and what your insurance already paid for.
Yeah. So Becky, we're looking at this problem, but you said it actually doesn't stop here. There's a ripple effect.
Absolutely. When you are paying bills that aren't yours, it drives up health care costs. And so if you don't stop fighting and you don't report these things, you'll continue to pay more and more money, which means overall health care is going to continue to rise.
Scary to think this happens so much they actually offer you free help about it when it comes to it, and that's what you're working on tomorrow.
That's right. So tomorrow we're going to walk you through step by step how to resolve these errors. There's free help that in our state, then also through your doctor's office, through the hospitals, and then of course with your insurance company. So we're going to show you how to walk through all of those steps.
The person arrested for animal cruelty and torture faced a bond judge this morning. 41-year-old William Dotson was given a $50,000 bond. North Charleston police announced the arrest of Dotson, and he was found in the area of Quitman and Calvert Streets in North Charleston and taken into custody in connection with the Caitlin case, as it's now known. The dog, Caitlin, was found with her muzzle taped shut last week.
I think it should be more. This was just a cruel act. And the pain and suffering that Caitlin had to go through, I don't think $50,000 really matches that pain and suffering.
Also today, North Charleston police executed a search warrant at Dotson's house. We have exclusive video of that search. A number of officers and animal control officers took part searching inside and out. This morning, the judge told Dotson he is not allowed to have any animals, so his other dog was going to be taken away by police. But a source at that search tells News 2 the dog found at the home today is not believed to be owned by Dotson. Police did not give us any other information about what they were searching for. News 2's Raymond Owens visited Caitlin the dog today, and he has an update on how she's doing and how soon she might be ready for a foster home.
Well, Caitlin's coming along great.
Dr. Henry Bianucci at Veterinary Specialty Care in Mount Pleasant is treating Caitlin. Tuesday afternoon, Caitlin wore shades while getting a laser treatment. Her tongue is doing much better than expected, so she will likely be able to keep all but just a little portion of it. She will need some more work on the right side of her mouth, including minor plastic surgery, which is scheduled for Wednesday. Otherwise,
she's been responding great, and I think her prognosis is great.
Dr. Bianucci tells me that as soon as Caitlin has her minor surgery tomorrow, she could be ready for a foster home in as soon as 7 to 10 days.
Good morning, everyone. We just wrapped up with News 2 today, but the phone lines are still open for your chance to help clear the shelters.
News 2 has been collecting toys from across the Lowcountry this holiday season, teaming up with the U.S. Marines in their annual Toys for Tots initiative.
We're going to help roughly 13,000 kids. You're going to help a lot of kids who right now are waking up and there's nothing under the Christmas tree. You're about to knock on their door and rock their world.
And there was something very special this year. News 2 awarded a very special Cool School Star Award tonight to Liberty Hill Academy.
We're at Riverfront Park in North Charleston today for Making Strides Against Breast Cancer. Hundreds of folks out here painting the park pink.
Storm Team 2 Chief Meteorologist Rob Fowler, joined by Kyle Dennis. And we are on duty here for this event that has kind of really taken control of our lives. Charleston County, now Central Charleston County. And again, now we're talking about downtown. And we have a lot of rain over there.
Live with coverage you can count on. This is News 2 at 6.
Good evening, everyone. I thank you for watching. I'm Carolyn Murray.
And I'm Brendan Clark.
So things are getting better in the Midlands. Things are about to get worse on the coast. And so we are going to continue to watch as the waters are moving.
That's Governor Nikki Haley with a warning that areas downstream of Columbia could be the next endangered after record-setting rainfall here in the state. There are 15 confirmed flooding fatalities in South Carolina. The main issue now, swollen waterways and overflowing rivers.
We want to head straight to News 2 meteorologist Christine Kohler, who spent the day in Williamsburg County taking a look at the rising Black River.
Christine, we've seen plenty of things in the background, houses flooded, just a scary situation there for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. And behind me is what is now the Black River. Residents in this area here, the Red Hill area between Andrews, technically an Andrews address, but as you head out from east of Andrews out towards King Street, they tell me it's usually about 120 feet back behind me where the tree line is, and it's now risen by feet over the last several days. They say the good news is today it seems to be only rising by inches, but the bad news is it is still rising. In talking with some of the residents here, from the time that things peak in King Street, it still takes another couple of days before they peak 12 miles down the river here into this area. And as you take a wider look here, Melissa, if you can pan over here, we've got several houses on this road completely submerged underwater. It has been devastating for these folks. That is just one of them. Several more behind that are underwater at this point in time. The good news is that everyone has made it out safe. They are joking. These folks are handling it with a lot of class here. They've also banded together. I've heard a lot from the residents of this area that things have just been so communal here. They did want me to give a big shout out to a guy named David Hanna, whose grandfather used to own this land and has been here helping these folks. We've also heard a lot about the flood of 1973, and the residents here who were around for that flood of 1973 say this is far beyond what they ever saw at that point in time. So just to give you an idea of what's happening here on the Black River, this is something that nobody really has ever seen in this area. Again, it's possible for this area to continue to see rises in the flood. We'll have to continue to monitor this area. But live from the Black River here in Williamsburg County, I'm meteorologist Christine Kohler. Guys, back to you.
Really incredible pictures, and when we heard from Chrissy earlier, she talked about the resilience and the spirit of those folks there, and we certainly are thinking about them, praying for them to dry out eventually, to stay strong.
Yeah, we sure are, but right now we're talking about rising river levels, and for that we're going to go to Chief Meteorologist Rob Fowler for the latest. Rob?
Yeah, we're watching really day by day, moment by moment, guys, to some of these rivers, and we don't have a good gauge on the Ashley River, but we'll watch again the levels there. Just basically we encourage you, if you live on the Ashley River, just be wary and cognizant of those rising waters. Meanwhile, Gibbons Ferry, the Edisto River, will take you there as we look at the flooding situation. The actual flood stage is 10 feet, 16.8 feet as we get into Saturday morning. So this one is still rising. Got to keep an eye on that. Santee River at Jamestown, basically flood stage is 10 feet. Expected to see maybe 23 feet by the time we get to Monday afternoon. So this one's still on the way up. So if you're near this river, obviously of concern. Where Christine is, she made a great point. King Street is where the main sensor is, and right now you can see that we've kind of reached the crest there in King Street, but it's going to take a little while longer for this water to recede well over 20 feet with the flood stage there at about 12 feet. And here's the Waccamaw heading up northbound to Conway, basically flood stage 11 there, 16.8 feet today, and it will continue to fall. So again, this is the stage up there, Waccamaw at Conway. So we'll continue to watch these levels. Very important for you to keep an eye as well, and we'll record these and let you know day by day what's going on. But again, some of them going down, some of them still yet to reach their crest. Guys, back to you.
All right, Rob, thanks. Good information there. New tonight, the Dorchester County Sheriff's Office says that man right there, Robert Boland, is the tow truck driver responsible for taking several cars away across the street from the Francis Willis SPCA. This was when people were trying to get animals out of the SPCA due to its flooding. He was across the street towing cars so the people were trying to help out. He has been charged with price gouging. According to deputies, Boland was charging customers upwards of $250 when he had advertised charging only $85 a tow.
And right now, Boland is charged with 2 counts of price gouging during an emergency. He's also been cited for operating without a business license. Now, many schools have canceled classes as a result of the flooding, and making sure that families are still safe, Williamsburg and Georgetown County schools are closed for the rest of the week. All district employees in Georgetown who have contracts of 220 days or greater will report to work both days. Dorchester Districts 2 and 4 are closed the rest of the week also. And staff in both of those districts, Districts 2 and 4, should report to work.
Berkeley County will return to school tomorrow on a 2-hour delay. There's a 1-hour delay the rest of the week in Colleton County. And we have a full list of closures across the Lowcountry on our website, counton2.com. On the ground, even in the air, we have every angle of the flooding covered. News 2's Travis Rice took to the skies for a better perspective on the damage and potential threats.
Hovering over the Lowcountry shows the flood's vast effect.
And that's right there. That's where it really tells you how fast it's still coming through. Damn, even as of yesterday.
Dylan Keels of Holy City Helicopter has been busy scouting damage for the past 2 days.
It looks as bad, if not worse. Like more water is flowing now. And all that stuff is coming from the upstate down here.
The Ashley still overflowing into the Ashboro neighborhood in Somerville. Floodwater surrounds the community swimming pool.
And right here, where the river bends, is where it blew into the neighborhood right here with these houses. All these riverfront houses. This is the access point where the water made its way in.
Meanwhile, in Berkeley County, the Cooper River brimming just below the docks. North of Jamestown, the Santee River appearing less threatening.
You can see where the water level has receded from the discoloration of the poles.
And the brightest indicator to how wet it is, mile after mile, the sun reflecting in the flooded Francis Marion Forest. Travis Rice, News 2.
Around 15 people were rescued from Johns Island when the tide became too high last night. We're told the rescue happened off Mullet Hall Road. They were taken to a shelter on Kiowa Island. As of just a few minutes ago, at 6 o'clock, Main Road closed to drivers because of high tide. The road to be reevaluated after the tide has gone down.
Another area of concern right now is Colleton County. We want to go to Jeff Patterson from our sister station, WFLA. Jeff, you've had an opportunity to travel around that area of Colleton County. Tell us where you are right now and exactly what you are seeing.
Yeah, I'm standing actually in the Edisto River. We're near Jacksonboro. Here's the problem. Even though we're standing at about a foot and a half of water, the banks of the Edisto should be about a quarter mile behind me. We spoke to the man who lives in that home back there. He's been flooded out about 8 times in his life, so he knows how to deal with this. But certainly there are a lot of homes here in this county, in Dorchester County, in Charleston County, that we have visited today, that we have seen that these are obviously historic levels of water. Emergency management people that we have spoken to have been working nonstop since last Friday trying to evacuate people from homes.
It's been evacuations, pulling people out of the water. We've done some rescues. We've been from one end of this county to the other, and we were downtown for a good portion of Saturday. Again, we've been picking people off roofs, out of cars, evacuating from houses. So it's been a long few days.
Yeah, and that's a volunteer fire rescue department. That's a volunteer fire rescue department there. So just an extraordinary effort by those folks, giving up their day jobs, if you will, to help out their friends and neighbors, the people in this community. Also, the National Guard on scene. We saw the Charleston County Sheriff's Office out here. A lot of people working to make sure that the residents in this area are safe, but they are advising us that this river has not yet crested, so they're telling people that it still may yet get worse. Back to you guys.
The community definitely coming together. Thank you, Jeff, for that report in Colleton County. Meanwhile, in Berkeley County, things appear to be taking a turn for the better.
It's finally over. The water's subsiding. Have a couple small bridge issues left, but besides that, everything's looking better.
A bridge on Alligator Road in Cordsville still out with a massive hole, as you can see. Also on Highway 6 and Cross, part of the road still shut down due to collapsed soil. We have a list of the latest road closures on our website, counton2.com.
And we want to see more of the flooding that's happening around the area. We go to Somerville right now, the clubs at Legend Oaks neighborhood, and that's where we find News 2's Macy McLeod. Macy, how are things where you are in Somerville?
Hey Carolyn, that's right. I'm out here in Legend Oaks neighborhood in Somerville, and you can see the water is flooded over the roads here right now. Now this neighborhood is situated on a golf course, so it's those golf course ponds that are overflowing, filling to the brim, and then joining together in the middle of the roadways. You can see here these ponds, there's one to the left and one to the right, and they're basically meeting in the middle and forming a giant lake in the middle of the road. The water is up to 3 feet deep at some points, and the water hasn't entered any homes yet here, but it is damaging some air conditioning units and some cars. Neighbors are also telling me that it is displacing some wildlife. They've seen some fish swimming in the streets, snakes swimming through the streets, and alligators going up into people's driveways to sun themselves. So definitely causing some issues out here. The National Guard has been out today delivering sandbags, up to a couple hundred of them, to these neighbors here to help keep that water at bay. Live in Somerville, Macy McLeod, News 2.
But the main thing right now is doing the damage assessment and continue to get whatever we need, the documentation that we need for the federal, for the FEMA, to get them some federal assistance.
That's in the Pepper Hill neighborhood in North Charleston, in the process of cleanup after extreme flooding damage swept through that area. For more on this community, how to get help, you can go to our website. Once again, that's counton2.com.
Coming up on News 2 at 6.
Many of you are now eligible for federal assistance through the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA. A little over an hour ago, Governor Haley added 5 more counties to the list. You can apply by telephone. That number is 1-800-621-FEMA or 1-800-621-3362. Or you can go online. We have a list of eligible counties on our website. Just take a look at counton2.com. Days after the flooding, the cleanup is just beginning for thousands of people in the Midlands, and many of these people are coming home to find that they have simply lost everything.
Mike Manzoni with our sister station WSPA, live in one of the hardest hit neighborhoods in Richland County. Mike, what's the latest there?
Yeah, it's dry out here now, but this place was completely flooded just a few days ago. The water came up about to your knee, and that's about 2 feet, and it was even higher than that in a lot of areas for several blocks in this neighborhood. We were with a lot of people as they came back into their homes for the first time today to take a look at the damage. They tried to look for anything that they could salvage. What they found was that there wasn't much left, and what was they had to throw out. Take a look at this pile of stuff inside. This pile of stuff that was inside the house, they had to take it out. There's a mattress, a big screen TV, a washer, a computer, you name it, it's out here. And we see a lot of piles like this along this street here. Families are still out here. They've been out here since very early this morning. Talk with a lot of them. They tell me that they don't think they'll be able to move back in, if at all, until the first of the year, and that is at the earliest. For now, we're live in Irmo in Richland County. Mike Manzoni, News 2.
Coming up on News 2 at 6.
Certainly a beautiful dry day today. Can we do it again tomorrow? We'll let you know. We're going fishing for tomorrow. Here's what you need to know as we take a look at the tides. The tide will be all the way in at 5:22 in the a.m., low at 11:28 just before lunchtime, with a waning crescent moon. Water temperature at 80 degrees. It is coming down cooler. In fact, looks like we'll see temperatures in the 70s before the weekend. Don't forget to check us out on the radio, including Magic 107.3. You're watching News 2 at 6. putting the wraps on what turned out to be a fantastic weather day. Looking live at the Joe. No baseball, of course, tonight, but it would have been a great day to play baseball as we see all the shadows on the field. The sunshine continuing this hour. 71 degrees. Of course, the sun setting early before 7 o'clock. By 10 o'clock, we're in the mid-60s. Same temperature. We'll see you again back here in the studio. News 2 at 11. So we'll give you the green light. Want to get out that cabin fever over the last few days because of all the rain. 71 out to dinner tonight. Out late tonight. Low 60s. Up early. Heading out the door. Some schools back in session again tomorrow. We'll see temperatures around 60 for the kids at the bus stop. Storm Team 2 radar, we're looking good, and not just here, but across the southeastern United States after all that rain that we saw. Speaking of rain, our next rainmaker lurking out to the north and west. We're under the influence of high pressure now with sinking air. That's why we saw the beautiful blue skies and lower humidities. But this again is going to be moving on in. As it does, we're going to see our rain chances on the increase, but not until we get to either late Friday and into the early portion of the weekend, because our forecast radar through time will take you into Thursday morning looking fantastic. By 7 o'clock, we'll start out dry. Then we move it into Thursday afternoon, right along 95, maybe a few clouds popping up. The rain chances increasing for the upstate of South Carolina. And this is our Saturday morning, and you can clearly see where that cold front is as it presses towards the coast, adding some rain. Good news is it is going to be moving pretty quickly, so this rain is not going to linger. It will be more scattered as we head into Saturday afternoon before it moves out just in time for Sunday. Not looking for a tremendous amount of rain. Most areas at least an inch to less, up to a trace or so. So again, the inch rainfall totals would be those caught under a thunderstorm. 76 Greenville up to Knoxville, Tennessee. 80, 79 degrees in the Queen City right now. Right here in the Holy City, we're at 77, 78 for Somerville. Walterboro, 1 degree warmer. To the coast we go. Sullivan's Island at 74. So out the door for tonight into tomorrow morning, 59. Rain chance 0. Northeast wind at 5 to 10. A beautiful Thursday. We've moved over the hump, if you will. Rain chance also low. Lots of sunshine in 82. And as far as our Fowler factor for tomorrow on our scale of 1 to 10, it's going to be 8. Another beautiful day with more sunshine. Here is that 7-day forecast after 59 tonight, 82 for tomorrow. Then we move on into late weekend of the weekend. And again, the chance of rain up to 50% on Saturday, should dry out on Sunday. Heading to the beach, do so tomorrow. That's going to be the best of the next few days. 79 sunshine, a few more clouds then on Friday. 3-degree guarantee right on the money today. 80 the forecast, 80 the high for our friends at the American Red Cross, the Heroes for Fire Victims program. So far, we're 5 for 5, $500, and that is money in the bank. So it was certainly great, guys, to look up and see the sun this morning. Sure. Beautiful sunrise, and that helps out in many ways. Helps out emotionally and also lets the folks really clean up.
Yeah, drying out is what we need.
Absolutely.
Right now. All right.
Rob, thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
We want you to stay with us. News 2 at 6 o'clock continues right after this quick break. A survivor of Hurricane Katrina used his rescue skills again over the past weekend, and this happened in North Charleston.
Quite a story. News 2's Ashley Yost spoke with the people that he brought to safety.
Gary Pearson survived Hurricane Katrina after his house was destroyed.
And being a CB in the Navy, you know, we were the first ones, boots on ground.
He says this storm reminds him of the emotions felt after Katrina's devastation hit the Gulf in 2008.
Just as bad, just as emotional. Everybody's got something to lose.
He used his survival skills again, this time as a one-man rescue team.
My neighbors called me to come down and grab them, and the water was up to their waist.
You know, if it wasn't for him, I don't know what we was going to do.
Phyllis Gadsden lives across the street. She got emotional talking about what Pearson did for her blind husband when his medical bus could not get home through the water.
Gary actually lifted me up, put me in his truck, and drove me to my front door.
His house has flooded 4 times, and he says it's because the drainage system in their neighborhood is just not big enough.
I can't have my pregnant wife live in a house that's molded from the last time.
The silver lining is that this neighborhood has joined together as a unit, like New Orleans did after Katrina.
And everybody's helping everybody, making sure everybody's okay.
Ashley Yost, News 2.
Ashley, thank you. And we also remind you that News 2 is partnering with the Red Cross to help victims of the devastating floods across the Lowcountry and all of South Carolina, and you can help make a difference too.
Call the number on your screen, 1-800-733-2767 to make a contribution or donate your time. You can also donate $10 by texting Red Cross to 90999, and you can donate online. We have a link to the Red Cross on our website, counton2.com. By the way, the Red Cross does not accept goods such as food or clothing. Also, one other note to tell you about, big news coming down. The Gamecocks supposed to host LSU at Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia this Saturday. Not going to happen. They are now playing at Baton Rouge against LSU at 3:30. So that game has moved all the way over to LSU.
And in addition to that, the tickets are not being honored. Those tickets purchased here in South Carolina.
Impacts everything we do.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. Meanwhile, of course, we will continue to keep you updated online at counton2.com. See you at 11.
We have team coverage with our reporters across the Lowcountry and South Carolina from Columbia to Dorchester County, but we begin right now in Georgetown County. As people there didn't have enough to worry about, new flood warnings tonight along the Black River. News 2's Ashley Yo spent the day with people whose homes are completely underwater.
We are currently on the Black River, a river that on a normal day flows leisurely down to the South Carolina coast, but today is not a typical day. The Black River has overflowed its banks and flooded homes like this one behind me. As you can see, this is the second story of a home. The water has risen all the way to the top. We talked to Joey Smith, whose family lives in this home, and he says the water started on Monday and hasn't stopped since. He says that he and his family are just taking it one day at a time.
Monday morning, 5:30, 6 o'clock, my dad called me and said, come get a boat and come get your mom out of the house. I feel like I've lived all week just in a dream.
Good night. Yeah, how about y'all?
The neighbors are what has been amazing. Tuesday morning, I had 3 boats at my back door with everybody piling stuff together. Everybody's got different people's stuff in garages and houses, and I mean, this little street is just joined together and been amazing. The support we've got from everybody. You never realize what nature and God can do until you can see something like this.
Houses like this one have water completely up to the roof. This house is almost entirely submerged in water, and the water is not done yet. It's projected to rise even higher than it is now. And this is an emotional time for the people who live in this neighborhood. When we asked what we could do for them, they said you can pray.